Episode 262, When Helpful Advice Isn't Helpful, Navigating Advice from People Who Don't Understand. Well, hey there, my friends, and welcome to the Not Your Average Autism Mom podcast. I am your host, Shannon Urquiola, and I am mom to my amazing son, Jordan, who is 29 now. And I'm also coach and mentor to an incredible community of moms, all raising children on the autism spectrum. Many of them have two children on the spectrum. So every week I talk about topics here that impact our lives along this parenting journey that none of us planned for. And most of the topics I talk about here on the podcast come from the moms that I work with inside our private membership. And this one is no different. This topic came from one of our moms that I infamously call North Carolina Jenny. And it made so much sense because think about it. I'm sure every one of you listening, just like me, we love it when we get unsolicited advice from people who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, right? The kind, just make him go. She'll eat when she's hungry. He'll catch up. You're just worrying too much. Just be consistent. Have you tried taking away their iPad? Just read to them more. Oh, you know what? Why didn't we think of that? Revolutionary. I mean, honestly, if just make him go worked, I would have written a book called The Magic Doorway Method years ago. Step one, make them go. Step two, whatever that is. Step three, school success. It would be a bestseller. But yet, here we are, right? So let's talk about school refusal because that's kind of what sparked this topic. So let's just say that your child is crying the night before school, complaining of stomach aches, refusing to get out of bed, melting down at the door, hiding in the bathroom, or shutting down completely. And someone says, just make him go. As if you haven't tried every version of that. As if you aren't already losing sleep. As if you don't lie awake wondering if you're making the right decision. As if you haven't sat in IEP meetings advocating your heart out. They're seeing defiance. You're seeing distress. And that gap is exhausting. So let's walk through some of the classics. They'll eat when they're hungry, said by someone who has never watched a child gag at textures, or survive on 3 beige foods for 18 months, or lose weight because rigidity wins over hunger. Hunger does not override sensory processing differences, I promise you. Or just read to him more. I always, I love this one because I always say, you know what? Oh, we're reading IEPs. We're reading research articles at 1:47 a.m. We're reading Facebook threads trying to figure out executive functioning. We're reading labels. We're reading everything. Reading does not fix processing speed. Reading does not fix working memory. Reading does not fix anxiety. Or what about this one? He still has time to catch up. Maybe, but minimizing the gap doesn't make it disappear. It doesn't give him services. It doesn't support him right now. It just leaves you feeling like you're overreacting. Or another good one is you're letting him get away with it. That one digs deep, right? Because now it's not misunderstanding your child. Now it's questioning your parenting. And here's the part that's hard to admit. Sometimes you don't lash out. Sometimes you don't correct them. Sometimes you just swallow it, right? Because they're your only support, deeply flawed as it may be. And that tension, it's real. So I want to talk about the emotional layer because this isn't just annoyance, it's doubt. And doubt can be sneaky. You're already really hard on yourself. And I know that. You already wonder, am I too easy on him? Am I too strict? Am I missing something? Should I push more? Should I push less? Am I creating dependence? Am I failing her? You are navigating something complex. And when someone tosses out one sentence solution, it plants a seed. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am overthinking. Maybe this is my fault. And that's the part that just sucks because you are doing the best you can with what you know. You are adjusting, you are learning, you are advocating, you are trying. But when comments like that land, they poke at our most vulnerable spots. They hit the part of you that already feels uncertain. So I want to zoom out for a second because most people aren't trying to hurt you, right? They're not trying to hurt your feelings. People say unhelpful things because they are uncomfortable with what they don't understand. They want a simple solution. They are parenting from their own experience. They don't know how to sit in complexity. They want to believe that it's fixable because that feels safer. If it's just parenting, then it's fixable or controllable. But if it's neurological, if it's anxiety or trauma or sensory or regulation, that's just harder to sit with. So they simplify it because simple feels safer. So, how many of you have heard these phrases? Maybe you should stop talking about autism so much. You need to just let her struggle. Don't label him. Don't make it her identity. Just push him out of his comfort zone. You're hovering. You're being that helicopter mom. Give her more independence. Take the training wheels off. Have you tried being firmer? Have you tried being a little bit easier? It never stops. And here's what makes it extra exhausting. Half of the advice contradicts the other half. So which is it? Push more, push less. Be a helicopter mom, don't hover. Be stricter, be easier. It's enough to make anyone spiral. So what do we do? Because here's the truth. This advice, it's not going anywhere. Jordan's 29. Trust me, I still get it. So it won't stop when your child is 10. It won't stop when they're a teenager. It won't stop when they're an adult, right? I still hear versions of it. Maybe if he tried this, maybe if you did that, maybe he just needs more independence. People are always trying to fix something they don't fully understand. And sometimes we need these people. So the real question becomes, how do you navigate it without feeling defeated every time it comes up? Because if you absorb every comment that gets thrown your way, you will be emotionally exhausted. So, I want to talk about some ways to protect yourself in those moments. The first thing, I always say to have these neutral scripts ready, right? I've learned that you don't owe everyone an explanation, but that took me a lot of years. So, one of the best things you can do is just prepare a few simple responses ahead of time. Because when someone throws one of those comments at you unexpectedly, your brain does one of three things: you freeze, you over explain, or you just blow up, right? None of those usually help the situation. So instead, have some of these neutral scripts ready. Something like, we're working closely with his team to figure it out. Or, it's just more layered than that. Or, I know it seems simple from the outside. We're taking it one step at a time. Anything that's just short, calm, neutral. You're not agreeing, you're not arguing, you're closing the conversation. And here's the important thing: you're not responsible for educating every person who makes a comment about your child. Some people deserve that deeper conversation. Others, the lady in the line at the grocery store, they just get the short version, and that's okay. Most of you know, Jordan has always been a behavior kid, right? Meaning he has always had negative behaviors. And I can't tell you how many times I have been told that he just needed more discipline. And I figured out that in those moments, I had two options. I could launch into a 30-minute explanation about autism, sensory regulation, processing speed, anxiety, neurological differences, or I could just smile and say, thanks for the suggestion and move on. And let me tell you something. If you walk away with one thing from this episode, let it be this: not every conversation deserves your emotional energy. So when I walk away and say, thanks for the suggestion, I'm not emotionally tied to any of that. I leave it all right there. Sometimes protecting your peace is more important than proving your point. And when you get there, it makes this parenting journey a whole lot less emotional for you. The second thing is protect your mental space. And this is something that I wish someone had told me much earlier in this journey. Not everyone gets a front row seat to your heart. There are different circles in your life. Circle one, there are your people. They get the real story, they get the tears, they get the frustration, they get the late night messages when everything feels like too much. Circle two, they get the highlights. Circle three, they get the polite surface version. Thanks for the suggestion. And that doesn't make you fake. That makes you emotionally intelligent, because the truth is, some people simply do not have the capacity to understand what you're navigating. Not because they're bad people, but because they've never lived it. And here's the thing that is not dishonest, that is healthy. Here's the hard truth. Sometimes the very people you wish understood the most never will. That might be your parents, your in laws, your siblings, your closest friends. And that realization can be painful. But once you accept it, something interesting happens. You stop trying to force understanding where it doesn't exist. And that alone can just change the dynamics of the relationship. Now, the third thing is check your inner voice. We all have one. I want to talk about this is the part that actually hurts the most, because it's not always the comment itself. It's what the comment awakens inside of you. And the truth is, that's the real work, right? You're already questioning yourself. Every autism parent I've ever worked with has asked themselves some version of, am I doing enough? Am I pushing too hard? Should I be pushing more? Should I be more patient? Should I be more firm? Did I miss something earlier? Could I have prevented this? That internal questioning is already there. So when someone says something like, maybe he just needs more discipline, or you're letting her get away with it, it hits that vulnerable spot. And suddenly doubt creeps in. When their comment triggers, ask yourself, what did that just hit? Did it hit fear? Did it hit guilt? Did it hit exhaustion? Did it hit the part of me that already questions myself? Because the sting that you might feel from those comments, it's usually not about the comment or the person who said it. It's about that uncertainty that you're already carrying. And I just want to let you know that uncertainty is completely normal, because this parenting journey doesn't come with a clear roadmap, right? You're learning in real time. You're adjusting, you're trying things, you're failing and trying something different. You're advocating, you're growing right alongside of your children. That's not failure, that's parenting. Now, I'm going to put on my coaching hat here and I'm going to share something that I hope you will practice, and I think it'll be super helpful. When someone gives you advice that doesn't apply to your situation, try just silently reminding yourself that they're speaking from their experience, not yours. Their brain is pulling from the only parenting framework they know. And if they've never navigated sensory overwhelm or anxiety or school refusal or processing delays or meltdowns or IEPs or therapy schedules or nervous system dysregulation, then their advice is naturally going to reflect a completely different reality. And that doesn't make them wrong. It just means their advice doesn't apply here. And that's okay. So you are parenting in a way that most people truly cannot understand. You are managing things that most families never have to think about: regulation, anxiety, sensory overload, executive functioning, processing delays, social communications, right? School systems, and your own emotional regulation on top of all of it. That's a lot. So when someone casually says, just make him go, of course it feels dismissive. Of course it feels frustrating. Of course it triggers doubt because they are reducing something incredibly complex into a single sentence solution. And when you're living the complexity every day, that feels invalidating. So sometimes the healthiest things you can do is mentally label the advice instead of taking it in, right? Categorize it. You can literally think to yourself, that's neurotypical parenting advice, or that works for typical development, or that person has never dealt with nervous system dysregulation. And suddenly the comment loses its power because you recognize that it was never meant for your situation in the first place. And sometimes you'll find yourself where you can just laugh. And I truly believe laughter is survival medicine on this journey. Because if we didn't laugh, sometimes we'd cry all the time. I remember someone telling me once, you should just let Jordan struggle more so that he learns. And I remember thinking, friend, you clearly have not seen the level of struggle that we're already navigating over here. But in moments like that, sometimes the healthiest thing that you can do is just smile and think, bless your heart. They have no idea, and keep moving forward. You are parenting in a world that loves simple answers. But autism parenting rarely has simple answers. It requires nuance and flexibility and patience and advocacy and creativity and a whole lot of trial and error. So the next time someone throws out a one sentence solution, take a breath. Remember they're speaking from their own limited experience. And remind yourself of this truth. You, mama, you know your children better than anyone else. And here's the truth. You are not weak for struggling. You are not overthinking. You are not too easy. You're not too much. You are parenting neurologically, not socially. And that is different. It requires nuance and flexibility and awareness and patience, and it requires growth. And sometimes it requires laughing in the pantry so you don't cry in the pantry. Laughter really is medicine on this road. So, I want to give you, before we wrap up, I want to give you something practical that you can take with you. Because the next time someone says something that makes your stomach drop or makes your blood pressure rise, and it will happen again, I want you to have a way to process it that doesn't leave you spiraling. So there are 3 questions that you can ask yourself in that moment. Question number 1: does this person truly understand my child? Not, do they love my child? Not, are they family? Not, do they mean well? Do they actually understand my child? Have they seen the meltdowns? Have they seen the anxiety spiral? Have they watched the sensory overwhelm build? Have they sat in an IEP meeting? Have they watched your child try so hard and still struggle? If the answer is no, then their advice is naturally going to be based on their experience and assumptions. And advice based on assumptions usually isn't very helpful. That realization alone can take some of the emotional sting out of the comment. Question 2. Is there anything useful in this comment, even if it was delivered terribly? Now, hear me on this one. Most of the time, the answer is no, but occasionally there is a tiny piece of insight buried in there. Not because the person understands autism better than you, but because sometimes a fresh perspective can highlight something that maybe you hadn't considered. Maybe not the solution they suggested, but maybe the observation behind it. And if there's nothing useful there, you simply let it go. You don't carry it around. You don't analyze it for 3 days and 4 nights. You let it go. And the third question is, why did this comment hit me so hard? And that's what I talked about earlier, because this is the most important question. Because sometimes the comment lands right on top of something that you were already worried about. Maybe you're already wondering if you're pushing too hard. Maybe you're already worried that you're doing too much. Maybe you're already questioning your decisions around school or therapy or independence or discipline. And then when someone says something that touches that sensitive spot, it feels personal. But recognizing that allows you to separate their words from your inner doubt. And that awareness gives you back control. Now, something I've learned over the years is that confidence as a parent doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from knowing that you are willing to keep learning. You are willing to adjust. You are willing to listen to your child, to your instincts. You're willing to advocate when something doesn't feel right. And like I said earlier, and you'll hear me say it a lot, no one knows your child better than you. Always remember that. And that matters far more than any one piece of advice that someone throws your way. Before I go, I want to share something that happened when Jordan was younger. So, Jordan has always been a very slow processor, always. Even now at 29, if you ask him a question, you need to give him time. His brain just takes a little longer to organize the response. But when he was younger, that wasn't something that most people understood. And I remember one day someone said to me, "You answer for him too much. You should make him respond faster so he learns." Now, on the surface, that might sound like reasonable advice, right? But here's what that person didn't see. They didn't see Jordan's brain working so hard to find the words. They didn't see the anxiety that would build when he felt rushed. They didn't see how shutting down was his nervous system's way of protecting itself. If I had pushed him in those moments, if I had rushed him the way they were suggesting, it wouldn't have helped him communicate better. It would have done the exact opposite. It would have made communication feel unsafe. So instead, I did the thing that didn't make sense to most people. And I still do. I waited. I give him time. Sometimes a lot of time. And I've said it before, but I'm a very fast processor. You guys notice I talk kind of fast. So this has been one of the most difficult things as his mother, is to be able to give him that time to process. And slowly over the years, he learned that he didn't have to rush his words. He didn't have to panic. He could take the time he needed to respond. And that's how his confidence with communication grew. Not because I pushed him faster, but because I began to understand how his brain worked. And that's the part that most people outside of this journey don't see. They see the behavior. You see the why behind the behavior. And that's a huge difference. So maybe you're asking why I'm telling you that. Because you are learning things about your child that most people around you simply don't know. You were paying attention to patterns. You were noticing triggers. You were learning what helps and what makes things worse. You were figuring out how your child's brain works. And that insight matters a lot. So when someone offers a piece of advice that completely misses the mark, it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means they don't see the full picture the way you do. And that's okay. You don't need everyone to understand your child. You just need to keep learning and trusting what you're discovering along the way. Because again, the truth is, you're doing something incredibly complex. You're parenting in a way that requires awareness that most people never have to develop. And sometimes that means you're going to hear a lot of advice that simply doesn't apply to your life. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're navigating something most people will never experience. So, my hope is that in you spending this time with me today, that you realize the frustration that you feel when those comments land is completely valid and normal. Nothing is wrong with you. And guess what? There are plenty of other moms out here just like me that have those same frustrations. And that the doubt creeping in doesn't mean you're failing. It means that you care a whole lot and that you walk away remembering that complex parenting does not require simple answers. It just requires a willingness to stay and love and keep learning along the way. So until next week, as always, thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. Have a great week ahead. And if you're needing more than just a weekly podcast, if you're feeling overwhelmed or second guessing yourself and wishing someone truly understood what you're carrying, head over to our website at notyouraverageautismmom.com and check out all the ways that we can help you over there, because there's a lot of ways that we can help you. Everything we do is built for moms just like you. And don't forget, if this episode helped quiet that inner doubt just a little bit, share it with another mom who might need to hear this today. And remember, above all, you, mama, are doing amazing at this mom thing.